Welcome back. This is episode 2 of Street Style. My name is Rene Brune of Brune Media, and I'm your photographer today, going through the story behind the photograph. This image, don't normally name my images, but if I was to give this image a name, I would call it Mother Teresa. There's the Indian woman standing there begging on the footpath, the guy going past the image with the white Adidas, oblivious to her. He looks Arabic, and the girl in the background on the right hand side is South American, I believe, if I remember correctly from that day. I like how this image works. The guy is just walking through, homeless people and people begging tend to be invisible in cities these days. Even the caricatures on the wall in the background, the two guys reading the newspaper, obviously oblivious because, they're artwork, as you'd expect. But the Guinness sign on the left hand side raising the bar, I feel like that should be raising the bar of society. We should be looking after everyone, not just those who have the wealth. Everyone should be looked after, and people these days shouldn't be homeless or hungry. There's enough money to go around, and I think society needs to, grab itself by the boots and strap themselves in and do a better job of how we look after people. But that's my personal opinion, so let's move on to the next image. This next one, it's nothing special really. It just stood out to me. I like how the guy is out sitting on the doorstep of one of the Georgian streets in Dublin with his dog. He's on the phone, ignoring the dog. The dog is just looking around at people. Ideally, I would have loved to have had, I'd love to have the balls to go over and chat to him, but the dog did look a bit vicious. I'd love to have, the ability and, less fear. And that's one of the things with street photography. Sometimes you can be afraid to go over and ask. You don't know what type of situation the guy could be having a bad day. You really have to be careful, but sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. But yeah, I would have loved to have gone over and taken a better portrait of maybe him with the dog, but I enjoy these are little moments that, you pass by and, you'll notice it as a photographer, but anyone else will just walk past, on the street. They won't notice, they'll have no idea what's going on in their own little world. Now this one intrigued me. This is not set up at all. This reminds me of a shot I took of Skinny. You'll know Skinny from the last video, where he was sitting down in our local pub and he had his hood up. This reminds me, the guy didn't realise I had a camera there, nothing, he's just doing his thing. But he's just sitting there having his Guinness, and it's kind of like he wants to be incognito. It's a bit like the old days when the gangland leader, the mobster, the general here in Dublin, he always wanted to go out. He always had his face covered and stuff like that if he didn't want to be seen. I just found it intriguing. I don't know. I mean, I could have got into some shit if your man had spotted me and all of a sudden he was somebody of importance or someone you don't want to mess with. But, sometimes you take the shot and be discreet and hope for the best. Ali Sherlock, what can I say? She's a familiar face on the streets of Dublin as a busker. She's quite well recognised. She has a record deal. She's started off, I think, very young at the age of 12 or so, busking around her native city of Cork. She has progressed and played and practiced and played, and she's made quite a name for herself. She's absolutely brilliant. You will catch her on Grafton Street most times in Dublin or by St. Stephen's Green. Make sure you give her a tip, maybe buy a CD if she's selling one, or download some of her tracks from iTunes. She's definitely worth a listen and a great Irish talent. Grafton Street and Stephen's Green are great areas of Dublin, along with Temple Bar, to find some good buskers. The likes of Hoosier started off there, and especially at Christmas time as well. Don't be, surprised if you see Bono and the Boys and a few other fellas like Glenn Hazard busking down the street. Grafton Street is a great place for people to busk, and some great music coming out of there. So these South American girls are making a music video at the time just at the top of Grafton Street by St. Stephen's Green, and I just managed to snap a shot in between takes. Two lovely girls and some great music. Here we have Albert and Friends. Albert Einstein, as I like to call him, the gentleman on the right with the frizzy grey hair. Once again, it's just one of those shots. I'm walking around the Temple Bar area, the pub in the background with the painting of the dog taking a pee against the wall is one of the many Temple Bar pubs. And these three gentlemen were just sitting out on a Saturday morning or lunchtime, having a smoke and enjoying the few points inside, watching the horse racing or football. Nothing too special about the shot. I just like the way, though, it captures that moment in time and the environment and the way we live these days. So I enjoy it. It's a nice shot. Man on Bridge, Arthur Fields. Some of you have seen the documentary on the Irish television channel RTE. Sometimes I feel like I could be the reincarnation of some of these fellas. Arthur used to hang around O'Connell Bridge all day, and he would take photos back in the 60s and 70s with his old cameras, take the details of the people he took the pictures of, people dressed up going out for their night at the theatre, etc. And then he'd send them a copy, or they'd go to the local camera store to pick up the prints. He'd send them all the details. He was well known. He's taken hundreds and hundreds of pictures on O'Connell Bridge. Now, I like O'Connell Bridge at times because it's kind of the crossroads of Dublin. It's a strange place in the sense that the bridge is wider than it is long, and pretty much everyone from all walks of life crosses O'Connell Bridge at some stage during the day. It's an interesting cross point, and you'll see all type of characters. That's O'Connell Bridge. It can be crazy. It can be crazy during the day, it can be crazy at night time, and it can be quiet, but you'll always get a character of some sort. Speaking of characters, I bumped into this guy off Clarendon Road near Con's Cameras, and he's from New York, baby, New York. He's a theatre actor, also enjoys photography. He's walking around, and he's more than happy to pose. Anytime someone who's an actor into theatre has a chance to get a free photo, they'll certainly take it. And of course, they have a bit of character about them, they have a certain look, so I was happy to take the shot. Nothing too special, but again, it's just the type of people you meet when you're going around with a camera. You never know who you're going to meet and what story you're going to hear, but you're always going to have a good time. Now, people always say it rains twice a year in Ireland, and that's true. It rains twice a year, January to July and August through to December. But in all seriousness, it's not that bad. You will get a bit of rain here and then, but I like this shot. Sometimes, people walking with umbrellas after rainy weather can make some good photographs. It's not something you see too often. Well, no, actually you do see it often here in Ireland, but sometimes you get a nice reflection off the street when it's very wet. But this shot kind of stood out to me. I took this shot and I was thinking, how can I make this slightly different, make it stand out? And I remember while suffering from some mental health issues, which a lot of people do have, mine was an anxiety disorder. I won't go into it, but I always used to say it's like walking around with a dark cloud over your head. I said people, they'll have no idea what's going on in your life, but you feel like you're just walking around with a dark cloud over your head. And what I did was I went online to Google Images and I found a cloud PNG file, and I just adjusted it accordingly and put it over the umbrella as part of maybe a mental health awareness thing, because it's just going to show, you never know what people are going through. Just always give people, the benefit of the doubt and treat them very well and just do your best. Now, it was a Saturday afternoon during the summer. The weather was nice, and the first thing I spotted on the corner of Middle Abbey Street and O'Connell Street was the old bike. And then I spotted the three old guys standing there, chatting away, catching up, one in a suit, one in a pair of jeans and t-shirt, the other one with a dress shirt. And it kind of reminded me of myself and my friends, when we meet up somewhere and catch up and have a bit of a laugh. And then as I moved around to take the image, I spotted this guy. And wouldn't you know it, he's having a cheeky 99 ice cream. Lovely 99 on a hot summer's day, and boy was he enjoying it. And look at that hair. Absolutely fabulous, combed right in. I don't know how much gel he used or hair grease as they did back in the day, but his hair is perfect. And, I like this type of shot. I think it's telling a story, and I think that's what it is at the end of the day. You go around, you kind of capture stories and capture moments, never to be seen again. So, it's one of the great things I love about street photography. I realised when I was going through all my photographs, I have so many landscape shots and different type shots, but my forte really is street photography and portraits. I love it. You're never going to take the same image twice. And once you capture those moments, that's it, they're gone. They're saved to history. So get out, enjoy it, and have a good time. Time to get the train to Belfast to visit my friend Neil. Here we come. Outside Connie Station, I pictured this shot. It was raining morning, very heavy rain, and it was about 7:10 in the morning, and this homeless guy just sitting there all covered in his blanket. I felt so bad for him, but what can you do in these situations? Sometimes you give them a few bob, throw them a few coin or a note. Sometimes they're genuine, they will use it to get themselves milk and a sandwich. Other times it just goes towards alcohol or drugs. Not saying they're all like that. I can understand that sometimes when you've nothing else, if you use drugs and alcohol, it could be a case of you're just escaping from your moment for a moment. But I'm not one to judge. One day we could all end up that way. So this was a new experience for me. I'd never been in a city where they have doormen on during the daytime. I'm not sure what type of trouble they get, or maybe there's a sporting event. But I'd seen this cool doorman outside a pub in Belfast, and he looked the part, and I loved his old style cap. Kind of like Peaky Blinders, although I didn't know what Peaky Blinders was at the time. I'd never seen an episode of the show. Maybe one of the few people in Ireland has never seen the episode. But I thought the guy really looked the part. He looked really cool. So I said, any chance of a picture, a portrait, I'll send you a copy. And that's all you have to do. Sometimes you just ask, and he was happy to pose. I think it's a nice shot. I like it. I like the tones. I like the colours. And I like the facial expression. I think all the cool dudes in Belfast must hang out in doorways. They must have nothing else to do. This was another cool gentleman. Again, the same style, Peaky Blinders cap, but he had a full-on bushy beard. Looked the part. And this is actually outside an old-style whiskey shop in Belfast, which had every whiskey under the sun. I mean, it was just unbelievable the amount of whiskies there. And prices ranging from, £20 upwards to a pretty penny. Again, he looked the part. He must have been just recently opened. There was a few press photographers or PR people taking some shots. So it was kind of cool. He was very nice. Had a great chat with him. Lovely gentleman. So this is one of my pub traits in Belfast. Got chatting to this guy. Really cool dude. This is in the Sunshine Lounge and Bar, or Bar and Lounge, whatever it's called. Really cool guy. Enjoys rock music. Rammstein fan like myself. And we were just talking about the pizza they're selling in the bar. I was asking, was it very good? He said, yeah, they also had some hot dogs and ribs. And we also talked about licorice, believe it or not. There's a sweet shop, a ye old sweet shop around the corner, which had different styles of licorice, and the old licorice pipes, which I used to love as a child. Loved licorice. And believe it or not, that night, because I had a few beers with me, I went around, as you'd imagine, bought a few pipes. I went with my friends, and we're all doing the Sherlock Holmes impression, holding our chin with the pipe in our hand, going, making that noise. I do say, Dr. Holmes, blah, blah, blah. Waffling on here a bit. But again, a pub trait. You get talking to people, you meet some interesting characters, and they're happy to pose for a shot. And sometimes you get a portrait, sometimes you just get them looking off, to the side. It's not a direct portrait, but, they're being very natural, and you get something nice out of it. And last but not least, a trip to Belfast is not a trip to Belfast without seeing my friend Neil in the bar here. Third person in from the left, bald head like myself, and we're just having a nice pint of Guinness during the daytime. I blacked out the faces of the people because obviously privacy, it's indoors, and maybe they weren't supposed to be off work, maybe they pulled a sickie, or maybe they just went, Rene from Dublin's coming up to take photographs. I hope I'm in one of his images. Let's just randomly stand in a pub and hope he turns up. Whew, almost out of breath saying that. But so street photography, pub traits, portraits. Get out there. In case you're wondering, the images are all taken on a Leica Deluxe 7. And, just go out, be yourself, talk to people, be nice, be courteous, and always be aware of your surroundings. I hope you enjoyed this second episode. Will there be a third? Well, let's see how the first two went. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.